People ask me, why should I learn physics? I'll tell you why. You want to be quantitatively literate, and you want to understand how the world works. What do I mean? To understand how the world works means you upgrade your opinion from, oh, stuff just happens, to knowing the principles of speed, heat, light, electricity, all of these things. Understanding how machines work. For instance, if your car won't start, you'll know about the electrical system, you'll know about the gasoline, and you'll know that when you put them together and with a spark, you will have combustion. So, if your car's engine isn't turning over, either the battery's dead, or the fuel line is clogged, or the spark plugs aren't working. When you can break down the complex car into a few systems, it makes it much easier to understand what's really happening. And this gives you power. Another reason is to be able to communicate your ideas. So you're doing construction, things aren't lining up properly, there's too much load, or there's not enough this or that. It's frustrating if you have to use vague words like this or that. But if you talk about a beam and the load placed on the beam, it gives you confidence. And this is true in every area of your life where you're interacting with the physical world, which is most of us. So to the extent that you're walking around in the physical world and want the ability to describe things accurately, confidently, you'll want to know physics. You want to be able to read graphs. And whether you're reading The Economist and talking about the economy, these trends are often displayed on a graph. And so understanding the x-axis, which is the independent variable, and the y-axis, which is the dependent variable, being able to discuss the relationship between the two of these, this is a skill which all quantitatively literate people have. And you build this skill in physics. Finally, is critical thinking. Now, you can tell when someone else doesn't have critical thinking, but it's hard to see when you don't have it yourself. We use critical thinking in physics all the time, and here's a classic example. For instance, if global warming happened and the Earth heated up a lot, would the day get longer, shorter, or stay the same? Now, here is how to come up with the answer. So as the Earth warms, that's the premise of this, the polar ice caps will melt. Not all of them, but some of them. Now what happens to the distribution of mass on the world when the polar ice caps melt? If you have a world and it's rotating, the polar ice caps are about the poles, which is right at the center of rotation. And when they melt, they go and raise the sea level. That moves the mass from the poles away from the poles. What does this do to the Earth's rotational speed? Well, this has to do with conservation of angular momentum. Much like when a figure skater is spinning slow with her arms out, but when she brings her arms in, she speeds up in her rotation. This works with the world. When you have the water in the polar ice caps and it comes from the polar ice caps away to the edge, the Earth slows down, just like a figure skater who's bringing her arms away from her axis of rotation. So as the Earth slows down when the polar ice caps are redistributing the water, that lengthens the day. I know it seems convoluted, but this cause to effect reasoning develops critical thinking, which is so useful in many areas of life. These are just some of the reasons why I think you should learn physics.